I'm going to start a 5-week series. Every Monday, I'm going to make a different cake. Now, of course, I make a lot of cakes from scratch, but I wanted to show how you can really diversify cakes that are just a box and what you can add to them. So this first one, Monday, I'm taking a vanilla cake. And you can use Betty Crocker, whatever kind you want. But we're going to actually turn this into a banana strawberry cake. And I'm going to show you how to do it. I want 6 very ripe bananas, so I let them turn really brown. I'm going to peel these, and I'm going to use the bananas inside. The banana peels, I'm actually going to put in a 5-gallon bucket, fill it with water, and I'm going to make a banana fertilizer for some plants. Here are my 6 bananas peeled. I also need a 1/2 cup of oil. I use grapeseed oil, but vegetable oil or any kind of oil you want to use is fine. 1 cup of water, and 3 farm fresh eggs. I start mixing my bananas first. Then I'm going to add the oil. The water. And the eggs. And I'm going to just let that blend and incorporate before I add the cake mix. When I do my pans, there are times that I just spray them and put the batter in. But if I'm making a special cake, I really like to put an oil or a butter and then dust it with flour. Now when you pour the oil into your cake batter, you always have a little bit left in that cup that never comes out. So if you take a paper towel, you can just use it and wipe your pans and then dust them with flour. I had a little bit of flour left when I dusted my pan, so I just put that in the batter. It's not much, it's maybe a 1/16 of a cup. So I'm going to turn the mixer back on, and then I'm going to slowly dump in my cake mix. Not all at once. If you do it all at once, splatters all over, plus it doesn't incorporate quite as well. So I'm just going to keep mixing that till it's all incorporated. I mixed it for about 2 minutes so it's incorporated, but I don't want to mix it too long and too strong because then sometimes you get cracking in the top of your cake. And the last thing I'm going to add and just mix very quickly, a few seconds, is 1 teaspoon of homemade vanilla. The vanilla is incorporated and it's ready to pour into our pans. Now we're pouring our batter into 2 9-inch baking pans. Could I measure per cup? I could, but I like to just estimate. You can always move some from one to the other if it's wrong. And we're just going to scrape that all out. I have to tell you, the smell is wonderful. Banana and vanilla. Now this is actually going to be a strawberry banana cake. But we are going to bake this first before the strawberry is introduced to the cake. Good. That looks very even. When we were small, we always licked the cake batter. I'm tapping it a couple times for air bubbles. And it's going into my oven that is preheated at 350 degrees. Well, I checked them a couple times at 30 and then at 33 minutes. And at 33 minutes, the toothpick test came out perfect. So they're on a towel on the counter, and I'm going to let them cool completely. And I'll put them on a wire rack after they've cooled maybe about 5 or 10 minutes. I'll pop them out. But then they'll cool completely before we do our next step. Now we're going to make the frosting. So I use powdered sugar, the entire bag. If I have extra, I don't mind, I can use it for other things, and I just keep it in the fridge. A cup of milk, a 1/2 cup of shortening, Crisco. I'm actually going to tint it red because it's going to be a strawberry banana cake. In my mixer, I put all the powdered sugar, the 1/2 cup of Crisco, and I'm going to pour in half of the milk. Now after it's mixed, I need to decide if I just want it to be a vanilla flavor or a strawberry or a banana flavor. But I really think I'm going to go with just the vanilla flavor. And that way the strawberries in the center, that we'll get to in just a little bit, will not be too overpowering. So let's mix it. We're going to start out on a very slow speed. And we can add milk as we go. Okay, I'm going to turn it up one notch. And I don't like putting all the milk in at once because sometimes, just depending on the powdered sugar and everything, I don't need to put any more than half of it. So let's go faster. Yep, it looks like I will not have to put any more milk in there. It's been mixing for a while, but it's a little bit too thick, so I'm going to add just a little bit of milk. About 1/4 of a cup. We'll turn it up a notch. Because I want it to be thick, but I need it to be spreadable also. Oh yeah, that's giving me a better consistency. Let's turn it up more. Now always make sure that you take time and you scrape your bowl in between. I added a teaspoon of vanilla, homemade vanilla, and just a couple drops of the pink red food coloring. So I'm going to increase the speed again and do its final mix. We're going to do the frosting and the filling between. So if you have a frosting bag, use that. But if you don't, just use a sandwich Ziploc bag. Fill it with the frosting. I'm going to snip it right here. And that way I can just go around the edge of my cake. And this will help my filling not to escape. Now don't worry if it runs to the side. It is going to be completely fine because it's the same frosting as you're using on the outside. This is just a simple, easy cake that just tastes spectacular. So the filling that I'm using is actually some strawberry preserves that I made this summer. So I'm just going to put some on. And, well, as I'm pouring it on, what do I find? It's strawberry rhubarb. It wasn't marked. No problem. We are still good. And I'm just pushing that so it gets to the edges. Let's put our second layer on now. Now I always want to make sure they're completely cool before I put them on. There we go. I bent it a little bit, but that's okay. I'm actually going to sit it in the refrigerator now. You can put it in your freezer if you want to. I just don't have space in my freezer, so I'm going to put it in my refrigerator for a little bit, and it'll just firm up that frosting, and then we can frost the outside. Let's frost our cake. I'm just using a regular butter knife, and whip that frosting up a little bit. And I do like to start on the sides. And I'm just spreading it around. And in fact, let me show you on top. See how easy that spreads? That's really the consistency I want. And I'm just spreading it around. Now, I do have some friends that really make some spectacular cakes. I mean, really spectacular. We're not talking... They definitely don't look homemade. And one of them, if you really want to dive into cake making, you know, everything from scratch, fabulous flowers, you want to go to see Miss Molly Cakes. Because Miss Molly's cakes are just fabulous. But I just wanted to show you how you can just take a box mix cake and make something spectacular. So let's just continue to go around, and we're frosting. Now I'm not going to use any tips at all during these weeks. Not that I couldn't, but I wanted to show you how easy it is to make a really scrumptious cake for your family and not have to go through a lot of work. I just love this pink color that turned out. When you put the cake in the refrigerator or the freezer, it just helps it stay together and you don't get all those little pieces of crumbles of cake. If I was going to make this cake and I was having company, I would actually slice strawberries and bananas and put on top. But because it's just for me and Joe, and it's going to take us all week to eat this cake, I'm not going to do that. If you want your cake to be maybe a little more spectacular, but you don't want to do a lot of stuff, there's so many sprinkles you can put on. Or you can grate chocolate and put on it. And actually, we're going to do some of that next week when we're going to make a chocolate turtle cake out of just a Devil's Food cake mix. But can you imagine when you got the top of this done and you put slices of strawberries and slices of bananas? It would just be a lovely cake for company. When we were little, my mom would always have extra frosting. And then she'd put the frosting in between 2 soda crackers, and we would eat them. We just loved them. And I think it's the sweet and the salt that makes it so good. And then at the top of my cakes, I just want to spread it around. And there we go. Strawberry banana cake. Ours with a little bit of rhubarb. So I'm going to take a piece and slice it. Joe's downstairs. He told me he was watching the TV, but he's probably taking a nap. But I'm going to slice a piece of cake and take it down to him. So super moist. Look at how beautiful that is. Don't you just love that texture and color? Bananas in the cake mix, strawberries in the filling. I hope you stop and make a cake today. So each week for the next 5 weeks, we are going to make a different cake from a cake mix. So tune in next week when we make a chocolate turtle cake. If you know anything about chocolate turtles, you'll know we'll have chocolate and extra chocolate, and we'll have pecans, and we'll have caramel. Always like, subscribe, share with the world, and make yourself a delicious cake, a box cake, if that's all you have. Make it spectacular. See you next week with this.